Hi everyone, it's Adina or Adriana, whatever you want to call me, and you are listening to the NJN podcast, Notes from a Jewish Newbie. That's me. Powered by Meaningful Minute. You guys, this has been a long time in the making and a dream of mine for years. I have been wanting to share a deeper side of my life all throughout my conversion. I couldn't because I chose to do it in private. That was the best option for me. Like I said in my announcement post, I wanted to keep things between Hashem, my rabbis, and myself. That's all this conversion needed to be. But now I'm here, and I never expected my life to turn into this so quickly, where people cared, people were shocked, people approved of me. I get emotional in almost every single speech because I think my biggest shocker after converting was they approve of me. They think I'm good enough, because the entire conversion is years of being told you're not good enough. And even when you think you are good enough and you're looking for a reason that is holding you back, they still won't tell you. And I'm here to now share to you what kind of has gone on since I announced to the world, hey guys, I'm Jewish. So exciting. But I think the first episode pretty much kind of encapsulated the answer to the question that I was asked every single day of my life for years at this point. Why don't you just convert? Or when are you going to convert? Or how and why did you convert? I'm still asked that question. I know there's a lot more to elaborate on, but when people ask me the question of why did you convert, I tell them to go watch my original Meaningful Minute podcast, because the answer is not a one-word statement. It's a 2-hour conversation, which I already had. That is how I got to where I am today. But now I'm going to let you guys know kind of what's been going on since I have now become Jewish. The title of this episode is I'm Jewish, Now What? And okay, so a lot has happened. So much has happened that when I start to think about all the things that even the public thinks they know have gone on in my life since the conversion, I have so many more things that has happened and I have experienced since becoming Now-Jewish Nanny. I guess let's just back up to, I'll never go all the way back to the beginning. Maybe we'll save that for another episode. But my last basin meeting where I was told you are becoming Jewish. And even then I was like, I'm not trusting this. So I get on my Zoom meeting after really being pushed to the breaking point, being pushed, broken down, like I have nothing left. I get emotional when I speak in these speeches in public. And I even publicly posted about going to the Ohel for the first time, because when I tell you I was like, Hashem, I have nothing left. I don't know where I need to go. If it's not the Ohel, I'm going to Israel next. I was saving some of these experiences for when I was Jewish, but the basin is excellent at their job. Shout out Rabbi Ephraim Goldberg, Rabbi Flug, Rabbi Weinstock. Honestly, all of the rabbis I've worked with, because they knew the exact way to just allow my neshama to grow and push myself. They're very special people, Rabbi Mintz, Rabbi Denberg, all the people who were involved in my conversion, that even when I thought I was ready, I wasn't, because I always say I thought I was going to convert 6 months before I did, and it was devastating. My entire world fell apart to shambles. But if I was the same Jew that I was then, that I was March 11th of Adar, when I actually got to convert, I would be different. I would still keep the mitzvahs the same. I would still know even the same Torah, Porsche knowledge, mitzvahs, lingo to blend in at the Shabas table that I do now. But I was a different human. I was a different neshama. I was forced in those 6 months to grow beyond I even thought possible in those 6 months where I thought I was going to convert, because according to my calculations, because I think I know everything, I was like, I deserve this third meeting. There's nothing that will hold me back. And they just never called. They just never called. And I finally broke down and I just said, Hashem, I have nothing. I have nothing left. That no facts, no knowledge, no proof, no amount of emails gave me that meeting. And it wasn't until I prayed to Hashem and I actually went to the Ohel and just used that holy environments with like all the neshamas that were around me. Also, the Ohel itself is just such a beautiful holy place full of Kedusha. I realized I have nothing and I never had anything, but Hashem has always had me. And I remember reflecting on how low I had been in my life before. And look where I am today. I was praying back then to be standing where I was now. This is now flash forward to after my New York trip, being in New York, being in Boca, praying in my bedroom, my beautiful 1-bedroom apartment that I pay for completely myself, remembering that I was standing here praying 3 years ago, if I could just pay my $750 rent on my own, away from my toxic relationship, away from, financially independent from anybody in my life who might have been hurting me or not healthy and not making me happy. And now look at my life. I'm completely financially independent. I'm paying for this beautiful place. I live in this beautiful apartment in Boca Raton, Florida. I have so many amazing friends. I am in the best place I've ever been in my life with my relationship with Hashem. And I'm so happy. And, I have the audacity to sit there and say, Hashem, I want something else now, which we all do. And that was the moment where I said, Hashem, I don't know what your plan is, but I'm praying for strength, even when I don't understand. In my serious prayer, I said, Hashem, obviously, what I want my prayer to be is I want to be Jewish, and I want you to make me Jewish now. I want to get into this final basin meeting, and I want you to tell me that I'm going to the mikvah that night. I literally didn't wear nail polish for 6 months, okay? Go back in my videos and my stories. 6 months I didn't wear nail polish because I thought I was converting any day now. But then I said, but Hashem, if that's not the answer, please give me strength and give me peace with your answer. I get emotional because I'll probably cry every episode on this podcast, and I cry at every single speech because it's so real to me. And I said, give me peace. Those weeks went by after praying and just letting go. Before my final meeting, I was granted my meeting, but I didn't know the answer. It could have been another game. It could have been another check-in. And every time I wanted to have a mental breakdown of, I'm reminded I'm not Jewish, which I was reminded, by the way, every single day of my life, being that my username was Now-Jewish Nanny. I was shouted it at the airport. Oh my gosh, Now-Jewish Nanny, are you ever going to convert? Why doesn't she just convert? Every single comment, every single inbox. A lot of people are saying, are you converting? I'm just wondering, I'm new here. Have you ever thought of converting? And if they only knew that the only thing I wanted to do was convert, I would pray, I'd take a deep breath, and I would go to any Torah class that my shul was having. I would go to Torah and Tea, Wisdom Circle, the Parsha classes. I would be a Mora any free moment I got just to be immersed in anything that was surrounding me with Torah classes, Hashem. I would sometimes get off of line if I started having these intrusive thoughts, get off from scrolling and just go read one of my books that was something about Judaism, something about my relationship with Hashem, growing my emunah. And that was the only thing that held me together. I felt like I was being held together by a thread. And finally, I got my final meeting. The day came. I am shaking and honestly though, saying, Hashem, don't let me get my hopes up. Don't let me expect much. This is probably just a check-in. Whatever the answer is, then let me be okay with it. Give me peace. And the basin was like, we're going to talk to the rabbis real quick. You kind of sit there, okay, we're all going to talk about her. And they pop up and say, okay, so we've heard from your rabbis that, we think you're ready. And I'm like, so funny. Haven't you heard for the past year that I've been ready? Haven't you heard from the past 6 months? We've been emailing you, but now? And I just said, okay. In my head, I'm thinking is this still a game? Is this still a game? Are you punking me right now? Like I said, they have excellent poker faces. I think that they also went to get, is it smicha? And they also got a theater degree while they were at it because they know how to act and they know how to have a good poker face, that this is just we're just going to ask you a couple questions. I'm like, okay, ask me a couple questions. I was prepared for a couple questions. Every single basin meeting, I was prepared to answer whatever they were going to throw at me. I posted it online publicly. I had a whiteboard, probably the size of 4x4, I don't even know, propped up with every single Jewish holiday, every single Jewish month, every month with the holidays that were within it. Then I had subcategories of maybe some of the key, these ones had major fasts, these had minor fasts. Also, with Shabbos, the 3 meals of Shachris, Mincha, Marav, Musaf, what do we do in Musaf? When people think that converts maybe don't know something, it's true. We don't know. There's a lot of things we don't know, but there's a lot of things we do know. I literally remember writing down the words in the Kedusha for Musaf that I go up on my toes for, and the words, the English translations of the words that I would bend my knees and bow in the Shemona Esrei, because I didn't know, maybe they might ask me that. Shout out Rabbi Mensky. He's honestly like a father to me. He I'd say, give me a test, give me a practice quiz for the moment that they finally get to ask me questions. So he would ask these questions that I shortly learned they were never going to ask me that, because the part of the conversion process is not, do you pass this test? And to go into a deeper concept, which is kind of what I speak about in my speeches and I will speak about here. is we need to stop looking at Judaism as a checklist and a box to check off. I think I was expecting my final meeting to be a checklist of if I was good enough, and if I got a 8 out of 10, I could go to the mikvah. But instead, the questions came naturally. I realized that by the time I was there, I was like, that's it. And it's because I didn't get to that point until I was ready, and they saw I was ready, that there was nothing I could have studied for. It was so funny that some people will say there's not a handbook to becoming Jewish. There's not, but there is, because we all know how many Sfarim are out there. We all know how many things there are to learn. But when I got to my questions, I answered them and I felt at peace. And when they said, okay, we're going to call you to schedule your mikvah, I felt like this is still not real. They're still playing with me. I think they're still playing a game. I can't believe this. But the weeks went by, days went by. Not gonna lie, there was little games in between. That's fine. I forgive everybody involved, because at the end of the day, it still happened. I became Jewish. So now we'll go to the day of the mikvah. I finally got my dates. I was still thinking, like, what if they're still gonna play games with me? Honestly, up until the day before, we had to reschedule it. Just because all the rabbis have to be present. And I finally got to the mikvah. The day of, I remember, I just tried to treat it as a normal day. I did not want it to seem, I didn't want to hype it up. I always thought, what if I got there and it was anticlimactic and I was like, did it work? Did I work? I don't know. I'm not going to feel some magical wave over me. But I remember I did my mikvah prep. I showered. I, brushed out all my hair, all the knots in my hair. I was finally not wearing nail polish for 6 months for a reason. I scrubbed my nails. I got to the mikvah. I did it again. Beautiful mikvah. And I got in there and I remember thinking how nervous I was. I was nervous, like, what if they ask me to recite all this in Hebrew and it's not fast enough? What if I am so nervous that I don't say the bracha right? The bracha was right in front of my face, but I was like probably gonna black out with like anxiety, because I was like, it's finally here, the day I've dreamed about. But I said, just be you. But I remember I got in the water and I went down and I just felt peace. I just felt at home. And it sounds cheesy, but I really did feel different. I think leading up to that, I felt, like I said, anxiety. Am I good enough? What are they gonna ask me? What if it doesn't feel like anything? But that's how I knew it was so real, that I really felt like my neshama was completed. And even leading up to that, when I was so frustrated, I would call my rabbis crying and say, what more do they need to see from me? I am a Jewish neshama, and this mikvah at this point is just a formality. But the truth is, it's truth. I felt like, I always say the description in my speeches is, my neshama was like this before I went. And the only thing that needed to be added to it to be a complete Jewish neshama, to become Jewish through my Orthodox Jewish conversion, was a tiny speck. But that tiny speck somehow made all of the difference. And I just felt peace. I came up, I felt peace, I felt home, and I felt just like, this is me, and I'm ready to start my life finally. And just so excited that everything now counted. Which brings me into now, what is my life like today? I'm the biggest fan of learning, because if you're not learning, you're falling backwards. And it happens whether you're a day out of the mikvah or you've been Jewish for your entire life. The second I feel a distance between me caring about my mitzvahs or the specialness in it, or wanting to learn or wanting to daven, I say I need to start learning. I need to start learning. I need to get involved with the Chesed project. I need to start learning. I need to go to a class. I'll go to any class. If you are intimidated to go to a class by you, I always say, I don't care what the topic is, you will hear something that you're supposed to hear. Just like when I speak in rooms, and I sometimes am a little nervous, but I say, everyone's in this room for a reason. Someone will hear what Hashem wanted them to hear. Because I always pray to Hashem, and I prayed back then when I wanted my conversion to be granted to me. Please, Hashem, make me a vessel for what you want me to deliver. My entire life was clearly given to me from you, because who the heck becomes famous as a non-Jew in the Orthodox Jewish world as a nanny and converts to Orthodox Judaism? It's not normal. Like, it's not tell me other people you know like that. Not a thing. And so I'm clearly here for a reason. So please, like I pray before this podcast, like I pray before every speech, let me be a vessel for whatever it is that I need to deliver. And I pray every day, let me continue to be connected to your mitzvahs with the same excitement that I am today. And I think the number one thing that keeps me growing and keeps me holding to things with Shabbos, with kosher, with snias, with anything Jewish, is when I want to cut a corner, when there's something where I say, oh, you don't actually have to do that. Maybe it's a little bit too much. Maybe that's something that, my friends don't do. I say, Adriana, you literally fought so hard for this to matter. as a non-Jew in the conversion process, a lot of hurtful things are said to you when you're keeping Shabbos. Oh, well, you're not Jewish yet, so you can turn on the light. And now to sit here and say, I have free will to go over there and turn on that light on Shabbos, but why would I do that? Because now I'm an Orthodox Jew. It matters. And I wanted this so badly. I could get into Shabbos another time, but with every single one of the mitzvahs, when they don't make sense, I remember that this is what makes me an Orthodox Jew. And there was a time where I wanted this so badly, and I never want to take it for granted. They sent me this tea that's Shabas Friendly, and you guys, this is like the coolest thing I've ever seen. Let's start with first things first. The av malacha that we would be, violating if you're going to make tea on Shabbos. No more making like a tea essence. A tea essence is what it's called. It's like when people make, I learned about this in my conversion, they'll make like a whole very, very, very concentrated version of this tea. That way we won't have to be doing any borer, selecting, sifting, none of that. None of those malachas will be violated on Shabbos, that's for sure. So, of course, like every good Jewish company does, they made a product that's special, Shabas friendly, kosher, obviously. It's called Wissotsky Tea. They have peach verbena, pineapple coconut, and watermelon nana mint, which I feel like I'm going to go for that. They're caffeine free, which means they're good for kids. If you guys didn't know, I've actually been trying to quit Celsius. It's been 3 weeks now, so I've still been drinking matcha. This is maybe my next step. I think I'm going to go for the watermelon mint. This is just an iced cup of water, and we're going to plop it in Shabbos style. Wait 8 to 10 minutes to infuse the flavor. Stir well and enjoy up to 8 hours after brewing. No caffeine, really clean ingredients. This is my era. This is my clean girl era. I just looked at my notes to see like what should I talk next, because I don't take many notes. I don't really read off of notes, hence why my speeches and my talks are so chaotic, but I'm trying to be raw for you guys. But flash forward to now, right out of the mikvah, what do? Shout out Yum Sushi Boca. I went with 2 of my Rebbitzins, Rivka Denberg, who's like my main Rebbitzin, my sponsoring rabbis, and Yafa Palti. She drove all the way there just to see and be there for me. Also, shout out to my nanny moms, Sarah and Hadassah, for being there with me for flowers, surprising me. But no one really knew. Yeah, so many people didn't know in my life. My shul knew, some of my friends knew, but the internet didn't know. I kept that private for 10 days, 11 days. I actually wanted to keep it private for 40 days because I said 40 is such a transitional number. 40 is something that you keep, private because like it's just let it secure, let it be existing in the world. Let my neshama be existing here and be strong before the entire world knows. But shout out to some Boca moms who I love them dearly. When I started to gradually tell people I cared about in my life, before I wanted to tell the internet, the word got out fast, and I was like, all right, if already the half of the circle of Boca Raton knows, the 5 towns will be next, and that I'm done for. If anyone in New York finds out about this, then I need to release this to the internet right away. So I remember I decided, I guess today is going to be the day that I post about this. I finally told my 2 OG nanny kids, like some people I really wanted to tell in person, and then I said, that's it, I have to post this now. I didn't have anything drafted, I didn't have anything planned. Like I kind of mentioned before, part of the contingency on my basin was like, you weren't supposed to document this, you weren't allowed to document this and make this a big publicity stunt, which I was like, no, that's what everyone expected me to do. That's why nobody expected me to keep it private and quiet, but that was the last thing I ever wanted to do. So, when TikTok was shutting down, I was like, I could really like hone in on this. If I was publicly talking about my conversion, I could say, if you ever want to find out if I convert, gotta follow me on Instagram, or, I have a big surprise for you, everybody, come, I didn't care. I just said, let it be what it will be. And I remember it was a Thursday morning, I think, and I just woke up and I said, I got on Canva, I drafted my little post, and I said, this is the way I want to do it, because there was things I was so terrified people would not understand. And I was wrong, I guess, but I was so terrified that if I just came out and said, hey, everybody, I'm Jewish, stay tuned for more, I felt like I needed to explain myself, because I knew I had been painted as this non-Jewish ally, especially after October 7th. Everybody... wow, I got messages and it would depress me, but you're not even Jewish and you still love us. You're such a Kiddush Hashem, and but you're not even Jewish and you're not even Jewish. And I was like, I know I'm not Jewish technically, but I will be. And does that mean that anything I did before this was meaningless? And it wasn't that I ever wanted to deceive people, but I was really afraid that I would be canceled for, she was actually not Jewish and she was doing this for views and now she's Jewish and now we don't like her anymore because she's boring. But I didn't care, because this meant more to me. the basin was always asking me questions like, oh, what if you're just doing this because your content was boring? And I'm like, excuse me, my content's never boring. Hello, if you actually watch it. But I said, I don't really care. This is the life I want more. And if it means that my life on social media is over, then that's what it means. And Hashem will give me another opportunity because I know that this is from Hashem and this life is way better. And I posted about it, and I remember I said, what do I do first? Do I post it or do I change the username? Do I post it? Do I change the username? By the way, the username was so stressful because I really wanted to keep it. That's like just the typical, it's going to be what it's going to be. I had to be excited about something. And yeah, I did have my username planned, but I couldn't reserve it ahead of time because the Instagram system doesn't allow that. And I actually had a random follower say, I heard you were converting and I reserved the Instagram username for you, Jewish Nanny. And I said, LOL, you don't even realize that actually would have ruined my page because once somebody makes the account, you can't make it. So I said, finally, the moment is here. And I guess my username, Now-Jewish Nanny, is still available because, haha, you think that you're smarter than me? I got a better idea. I had to keep it NJN. So Non-Jewish Nanny went to Now-Jewish Nanny with just one letter, and I made a story announcement by just posting the screen recording of I'm Jewish, and I just said I'm Jewish. Yeah, I'm Jewish, okay. And I literally remember my hands were shaking so bad. I said I'm going to change the username first, and then I'm going to post the post, and then I'm going to go clean my room because I have to start packing. I'm going to go to LA, meet my rabbi for Shabbos, whatever else. First time ever meeting my rabbi in LA. I posted that post. I changed my username. Step one, change my username. Finger shaking. Hit post. I put on my headphones and I just go clean my house, and my music won't stop playing. It won't stop pausing because I keep getting phone calls. And I was so shocked because I really didn't expect you guys to be so surprised. I was like, really, guys? I mean, yes, I get it. But people were so shocked. And I think what I was most shocked about my entire conversion reveal post was that it was a reveal. People were texting me and saying my family in Lakewood who doesn't even have social media has heard about this, what? And the word spread so quickly, and everyone was talking about it, and I got offers for crazy interviews, and I was so shocked. So now Jewish, I became Jewish. Now what? I really thought I would post this post. I actually thought I'd lose followers. I actually thought people would say, what? How is she Jewish already? Yesterday she wasn't Jewish. People on social media can be a little crazy. I thought people would say, how is she Jewish? She doesn't cover her elbows. How is she Jewish? Who's the rabbi who approved this conversion? Is it Orthodox? I thought I would have to get up there and defend myself, but I didn't. And I get the most emotional thinking about this because I give speeches to all different types of Jews in all different types of rooms. And especially with the anti-Semitism and the stuff that's going on today, somehow an entire comment section of almost 7,000 comments, 40,000 likes on this post, which is crazy for my analytics and my page. I didn't delete one single comment, not from a pro-Palestine hating person, not from somebody saying who's the rabbi who approved this conversion, questioning, just a comment section full of Jews, conservative Jews, non-Jews, Litvish Jews, Chabad Jews, non-Orthodox Jews, Jews from the Five Towns, Jews from Brooklyn, Muncie, Jews from Europe, I don't even know, Jews from everywhere, and they all approved and were happy for me. But at the same time, the sad part is sometimes if every single one of those sects of Judaism was in one room, they would maybe not understand each other. They would maybe judge each other. They would say, what, this person's wearing this to shul, or this person, does that. That's so crazy and radical. And I thought it was such a beautiful lesson to see that, oh my gosh, how did Hashem not only protect my page from, I feel like, any darkness that could have come, because there was so much light in the comment section. I think anybody from a pro-Palestine or Jewish, anti-Semitic hating background would say, not here. And there's too much light here. This is not where I leave that nasty comment, because everybody here is happy and they're proud to accept her. And I'm sure there was people I heard down the road, there was people that, other influencers even saying, oh, what do you think about this? And do you think this is real? And wow, and that's okay. But I think what's even more telling of the Jewish lifestyle, mindset, and culture is they didn't comment that, and no one commented anything mean. Everyone accepted me, and that was the biggest shock, and how thankful I am when I say to you right now, thank you. Like I said in my first podcast, thank you for accepting me and seeing how I will grow, and that I'm here to grow publicly, because if it means it's helping someone love Judaism again, if it's helping someone else grow, I'm okay to take whatever critique or misunderstanding someone might see of me. But yeah, so now that we're just going play by play of what happened, I posted this and I wanted to post it right before my Pesach program because I was like, there is no way I am going on this Pesach program, Kosher Rika, within a hotel full of Jewish people and they're going to not know that I'm converted and not know that I was converting. Even if I was not converted by then, I think I would have canceled the whole program. But thank God, thank you Hashem, I was Jewish, but it was still a little bit like, I'm Jewish, bam, now let me go to my Pesach program. And then let me come home for 4 days and go to Poland on a beautiful, beautiful organization that now I'm like working with long-term, Project Mastora. And we're just traveling Europe, just seeing the Auschwitz camps and experiencing all the things I feel like I needed to experience as a Jew. But what I didn't expect was all the speaking event offers and all the people who were shocked, were surprised, and were inspired by me and my story. And I'm so thankful. So I have spent, let me see, I should have wrote this down, but I have spent, since I converted, I went to LA, back to Boca, to my Pesach program in the Bahamas for 2 weeks or so, back to Boca for 4 days, then to Poland to go visit all of the Holocaust sites, tours, Auschwitz camps, directly from Poland to Cleveland for a speaking event, and then all the speaking events in between, some in New York, New Jersey, Toronto, LA, and now soon to be places in Europe and Australia even. I've done a couple podcasts and newspaper articles and have been just trying to catch up and actually be a real person and move to Manhattan. So after finally finishing the last of my speaking events, because I took way too many, just thinking, I'll do what I always do. If an opportunity comes my way, I'm going with it because it must be from Hashem. But then I said, Hashem, do you want me to live my life and breathe? I need to go get my dog from my mother's house. She's going to literally kill me. Which is, by the way, why I'm sitting in this random Airbnb right now. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, about to take a plane tomorrow with Finley to take him to the Upper East Side before I go to Camp Adina in the Poconos. So my life is all over the place. I finally said, now it's time. I have to stop traveling around, as amazing as these opportunities are, and I have to move to New York City because that's where everyone has to move. But more so, the reason I moved to New York was, not for dating, not for influencer life. It's just because I wanted to be part of a community where I could have girl groups, go to Torah classes together. And everyone's my age, everyone is not married, or maybe they're married, but they don't have kids yet. And I love kids, but when it comes to, are you still a nanny? I'm nannying in 5 towns in August for a whole vacation trip, but I'm really focusing this next chapter of my life on giving over every experience and Torah concepts that I've grown with and learned to whoever Hashem wants to hear this podcast, and traveling and basically trying to shape my entire life around Judaism as it has been for the past 5 years at this point. But taking every opportunity as it comes while still being a real human being. Before we get back to this episode, I want to share something big. Meaningful Minute is releasing their first ever feature film, Homeless, a powerful story about exile, identity, and return. It releases July 26th. Here's the trailer.
We have so much here. Where are you guys based off?
I was in Punta Cana.
Of Cabo. Is that Gullus?
No, but
not at all.
We don't know what we're missing out on. It really is, but we just don't know it.
I want the Geula, but we do have a lot. Is Gullus supposed to be like this? We've invested billions into living in America. Will we have to leave that all behind? And if we're in Gullus, then what do we make of the comfort, luxury, the routines? If exile is supposed to be so bad, why does this feel so normal? Shouldn't something about all this make us very uneasy?
I'm on a mission right now. What Gullus is. A lot of nice things here. What's our Gullus?
You're not allowed to build big houses in Gullus.
We can't really be comfortable.
What do you think is the worst tragedy that can befall this bungalow colony? I'll tell you, Mashiach coming.
You can watch it at njn.plus. Again, that's njn.plus. So I've definitely faced my challenges, something I could go into more in a separate episode, since this is more of a recap episode of my life now, what's been going on. People were shocked to think like that I have been kosher this whole conversion and keeping Shabbos this entire conversion. So they kind of have, I think a lot of people thought, what is it like now to travel and not eat, in the Delta Lounge? And I'm like, yeah, I've been doing that. I've been keeping Shabbos. And so people were shocked by that. that's not really changed. But what has changed is, just living in Manhattan, living in the Upper East Side, getting to try out new shuls, kind of being surprised, like, oh, I thought I would like this environment, but I like this one more, making new friends. I got a roommate, shout out Lauren, she's so awesome, but like making our kitchen kosher, dealing with our one sink, which I always had one sink in Boca, but like I said, didn't matter because your kitchen's not officially kosher until you're officially Jewish. But going to the mikvah for the first time and just getting to do everything for real, getting to be a real Jew, getting to not carry on Shabbos and no Erev when you get into those situations and being like, whoop, I'm a Jew now and I don't carry, or walking in the pouring rain in the freezing cold of Ohio and just thinking, this is what we do now. Like, I didn't once think in this moment of like, oh, if I wasn't Jewish, I wouldn't be doing this. I just was like, yep, let's get on our coats and let's go. No umbrella, nothing. And I really love this life. And it's not been hard to be Jewish, but what has been hard sometimes is to get a structure in my life where I still have time to learn. I miss being able to go to my Torah and tea classes at Chabad Central. I miss being able to like learn with my rabbis privately, whereas now I'm in a different time zone. I'm traveling and I've had to be careful about how many speaking events I take, because if I take too many, then I realize like I'm not recharging myself, I'm not learning, and I can't give over anything to anybody who wants to be inspired, to girls who want to have help with how I got to the place that I am from the place that I came, if I'm not resting and learning for myself. So I've taken a step back from posting. I've taken a step back from traveling and traveled only for very specific special events. But I want to share how it's still a struggle, and the only thing that helps you keep connected to your mitzvahs is learning and keeping them fresh, which I hope that in the future you can listen to my podcast and learn, or just get involved with anything that's around you. Maybe this could be a subscriber episode, but one of the questions they asked me to touch on was, are you confident? And thank you, Hashem, I'm pretty confident when it comes to my Judaism. I've had people say to me, and they meant it in the sweetest way, of like, hey, by the way, we have a Baal Tshuva and convert, Minyan, if you want to join, it starts soon. And I was like, no, I'm good, thank you. Like, I think I like to share how much I did take the time to know and learn as a convert, because even the people, when they see me flipping back and forth in the parsha, they're like, oh, this is the page we're at. And I'm like, don't worry, I'm reading in English and I'm reading the commentary and maybe I'm davening on my own. So I am confident enough that like people who say to me, oh, you don't know what you're doing, or like, oh, you're not real Jewish, like, that doesn't bother me. They can read an entire holiday of Shavuos and Parshas on Ruth to understand that. I'm not feeling like I have to defend myself, but where I do sometimes feel insecure is I was so nervous to go to another shul, for example. I was like, I've only ever been to my shul, but how will I go to another shul? What if it's, there's a difference between a Chabad shul versus a Orthodox, non-Orthodox, Lefish background. Even though I have every type of, I feel like, Jew in my life, I have now been to all different types of shuls with all different types of backgrounds. And I realized I can hang, except for in the Sephardic shul. And I feel like I went to Safra the other week and I was like, I love this, but I need to make an apology to the Sephardi community, because the whole reason I have always said, no, when you get to choose your background as a convert, you choose by your community. And my community in Boca was Ashkenaz, but I would have never chosen to be Sephardi anyways. I always say, why? Well, because I don't want to marry somebody and have my in-laws speaking Hebrew at the Shabbos table and at the Shabbat table and, not know what's going on. But the truth is, I can understand when they're davening in like a typical Ashkenazi Orthodox shul. I can understand the chazan and I can understand their Hebrew enough to follow in English because I can read Hebrew, but I daven in English. It's more meaningful to me. But I understand when I'm seeing Baruch, I'm seeing the word Yisrael, I'm seeing, Melech. I don't even know if we're supposed to say Melech out loud, but I can keep up very easily on the English and find where we are. But the Sfardim, no, I literally am the definition of how you're going to hate from outside the club if you can't get in. So I literally am like, yep, this is not for me. Maybe I'll go to Safra for Havdalah and their learning classes, but I cannot follow for davening. That is definitely a place I don't feel so confident, but I love the Sephardi community. Oh, like so many friends are Sephardi. They're so alive, but I definitely hang and I blend way better in the typical Ashkenaz. Whatever accent they use, I get it and I need to stick with it. Other insecurities I face as a convert. I'm very confident in my Shabas knowledge because I went through a book this thick, page by page, with Rabbi Mintz, page by page of the 39 malachas of Shabbos, and it's like every crazy instance of like, yeah, if the toilet cleaner in your toilet is blue and every time you flush it dyes the color blue, is this a prohibition of Shabbos? Like, is it dying? If there's an earthquake, are you allowed to move your soup pot back onto the flame if the earthquake shook the soup pot? Like, I literally studied and knew the answers to that. Maybe as a separate episode, we could do a quiz, but I still get insecure sometimes and I think out loud. So with like kosher or like even Shabas things, there will be certain things maybe I'm a little confused about in someone's house, and I have to struggle with the balance between like making it seem like I'm a know-it-all, but like also thinking out loud. Even in my own kitchen, I've like said to my roommate, oh, but like this material is, can't be rekoshered. So like, what does that mean if we do this? Like, it means this, right? And she's like, yeah, Adriana, like what's a big, yeah, like she doesn't think as hard as I do because I think everything through. But I always just say, like, I'm asking questions to learn. I'm always learning. But my day-to-day life as a Jew has been exactly what it's been for years now. It's just been a little harder to keep more of a consistent schedule because I don't have a consistent schedule. So I have to work really hard to, yes, I wake up and say Moda'ani. Yes, I wake up and say my brachas that are like the typical morning. But to sit there and say, I want my time with Hashem to learn, I've had to work so hard because it's hard to say, oh, well, I'll just listen to that podcast later. Or my rabbi in LA, he does recordings and I will just listen to them later recorded on a plane. And I do sometimes, but I miss going to Torah and Tea every week. I miss going to my Parsha class. And so I'm working so hard this month, like I said, taking a step back so that I can really keep Hashem and learning implemented in my life, so that I can continue to grow and continue to stay connected. But overall, I love kosher food. Helps my dairy allergy beyond more than you know. Traveling kosher, not a problem for me. Shabbos is a gift. Thank you, Hashem. But my biggest downfall on Shabbos is I'm kind of always rushing. I never break the 18 minutes, but boy, do I use the 18 minutes. I'm a real person, believe me. Everyone always says at like events, you're so inspiring. I'm like, did you see me get ready for Shabbos? I need work sometimes. My goal this year is to become somebody who takes in Shabbos early and like just really gets to enjoy how beautiful it is that like Shabbos is coming. We are so happy, as the kids sing, but it's all going to take work and you guys are going to be along for the ride. So I definitely think I've yapped enough. I'll probably do a separate episode of like maybe my first time at shul, my first like step-by-step of my experience where I first started thinking I was going to convert in secret by going to a conservative shul, because I was like, I know none of my nanny families go here. They were all very Orthodox. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is not what I was planning. Shout out to anybody who's conservative or maybe grew up that way, growing some more. But like, I did not expect there to be, a piano, a microphone. There was no mechitza. And so I'm sometimes still thrown off when I get into another environment and it's not like my shul, or it's not like my Shabbos tables at my nanny families in Boca with the Chabad Central Community, or my nanny families in the circle. I get very thrown off, but it's just because I'm still learning and I sometimes need that because like I work so hard for this type of life and I love it. I literally crave it. A lot of surprises along the way though. But I feel like a lot of those surprises happen behind the scenes. So maybe I'll make an entire episode about surprises. But ever since I converted and shared this with you guys, the only surprise has been just the opportunities and living my life. So get ready. This is only episode 1. And I clearly have a lot to talk about. So always. We already kind of gave you a teaser trailer about the whole season of all the episodes we have planned. But I'm definitely going to tell you all about how crazy I can be about the kosher in my house. But also kind of my struggles of finding the right shul to fit into. Also, not being that annoying Baal Tshuva convert all the time, being like, oh, do you guys know this? Oh, do you guys know that? I always try to find a balance of making friends who care and love their Judaism just like I do, but every Jew is different. So you're always going to find people who are different than you and can teach you something. And so I hope that we all learn together. But overall, I'm so excited for this podcast. I'm so happy to start my life as Adina Shoshana, Adriana, anything but non-Jewish nanny, now Jewish nanny, and sharing with everybody all the moments along the way, figuring it out myself. Like I said, always figuring stuff out, always experiencing new things. And I love that everybody here is there to cheer me on, and I want to also be there for you. It's definitely intimidating to be literally a Jewish newbie, only Jewish since March 11th, but to still be on a platform speaking to people. But that's why we named it Notes from a Jewish Newbie. This is me. This is me. This is my raw, unedited thoughts, and I'm here to bring a new perspective, not a perfect one. So signing off for the first time, Adina. This is the NJN podcast, and come back next week. Also, this is my birthday episode. My birthday. We're releasing this on my birthday, so yay. Bye. I'll just say bye. Bye.